We're with Blair Hamaty of Setting the Space Interiors on South Meadow Road in Plymouth. Blair, how are you?
I'm fabulous.
You're
how are you
fabulous.
Doing?
Thanks,
Yeah, I am.
thanks for letting me come in and talk to you.
Absolutely.
So, Setting the Space Interiors. What's your business? What do you do?
How long do I have to tell you what I do?
Within
No, I'm just
30
saying.
minutes. I know.
No, I'm just
kidding.
saying. Sorry.
Within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I know you do staging. What other sorts of stuff do you do?
So we started the company as a home staging company. And if people don't know what home staging is, it's getting your house ready for resale, okay? And when we started the company 15 years ago, I didn't know what home staging was. So I had taken a course with a friend of mine, and we went out to Maryland. It was a 3-day course. And at the end of 3 days, the person who was teaching the course said, someday you're going to have a successful home staging company. And I said, I'm not. I said, I'm going to do what everybody else does. After paying $2,000 for this course, I said, I'm going to go home, and that's the end of that. And she said, all right. She said, well, if you could just come up with a name for your company and go on a website, right? It was just this big website made for everybody. She said, believe it or not, you'll start to get phone calls. So literally went home and did nothing, right? I wasn't going to do anything.
Really?
But eventually, I finally signed up for the website and did get a call from Toll Brothers Builders, and our staging company started. So the staging industry started.
No, they were doing a lot of building in Franklin.
Yeah.
Back
15
then.
years ago. You got a good memory.
Well,
yeah.
I was marketing my business out there.
Yeah, so actually it's interesting, Franklin, Bellingham,
Right.
and then kind of into the Rhode Island area, and that's where the company started with the staging. So they hired me, I would go into their home. So if somebody said, I'm going to build this home, the first thing that the salesperson would say is, we're going to give you Blair free of charge. Toll Brothers paid me a commission or like a consultation fee or something, and then I would go to the customer's house and try to help them get ready to make the house look more appealing. And you got to remember, this was 15 years ago, so the market wasn't a fast market. It took forever to sell a house.
The internet was not widely available.
No, it wasn't like it is today. You know, nobody was looking on the internet, and things were taking a long time to sell. So anyhow, so they would hire me to do that. And what was happening is these people started selling their houses very, very quickly. So one day, Toll Brothers asked us if we could do a model home for them. And I looked at them, and I'm like, I don't really know how to do a model home, but I said, I'll figure it out. So we did a model home for them, a full-fledged model home. We had
Totally interior.
Soup to nuts.
Was that page schemes and everything?
Everything.
Everything.
I had to figure out where to put the outlets.
Oh, really?
On the floor, right? If we were going to put a sofa and we needed an outlet, we had to tell them where the outlets were going to go. We had to pick out the all of the chandeliers.
So you were involved before they even finished the interior construction.
Yeah, they got me in right at the very, very beginning stage where they were starting to build it. And then we had to do soup to nuts, window treatments, picture frames with fake people in it, every single solitary thing. And that went very, very well. And we started. So what was happening is that the people were hiring me to go in, talk to them how to get their house ready for resale. Eventually it would sell. Then they brought us in as interior design, and we started helping the people design their home. And then we had done the model home as well. And that's kind of how all of Setting the Space started.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
You started at 60 miles an hour.
No, I started at 150
100 miles an hour.
miles. Yeah, 150 miles an hour. I mean, for the first 3 years of our business, if you asked me what did we do, I swear to God, we worked 24/7. We were building a business without us knowing we were building a business.
Now, is that with the same business partners you have?
So Will and I own the company.
Yeah.
So he and I, it was him, it was just he and I. We were going into people's houses, we were driving the truck, we were lugging the furniture, we were doing the staging, everything.
That's insane.
Everything. 150 miles an hour for 3 years. And then and literally at the end of 3 years, we started purchasing furniture, and we had over $1 million worth of furniture already paid in full.
Must have been tough securing lines of credit to purchase all that furniture.
No? We had no credit. We didn't even know what we were doing. When we started the industry when nobody knew what home staging was.
Right.
We went down to North Carolina to buy stuff, and we walked into these showrooms, and they laughed at us because they said, "Where is your store?" And we're like, "What store? We're doing home staging." And they're like, "What do you want here?" And I said, "Well, we want to buy furniture so that we can use the furniture as rental furniture." And they're like, "We don't do that." So we got knocked down every single place we went to. So finally, I looked at Will and I said, we have to do this one more time. We went into a showroom and there was a young woman who was new to the business. And of course, they told the salespeople, I want new accounts, do whatever you have to do. So we told our story, just like I'm telling you the story right now.
Right.
She said, I've never heard of home staging. And she said, but you need sofas, and we sell sofas. So she said, do you have an office? And I said, I do have an office. And she said, do you have a business card? And I said, I do have a business card. She said, well, with Photoshop, we're going to take your business card, and we're going to make it look like you have a little store. So all of a sudden, the outside of the office we had, they put the Setting the Space
And where was
logo.
your office at the time?
It was actually across the street at the, right across the street.
From here?
Yeah, from
Okay.
here. So she went to her boss and she said, guess what? I have a new client. And he said, do they have a store? And she said, mm-hmm.
She knew what questions were going to be asked.
Yep.
Yeah.
So opening order was $5,000. At the time, that was a lot of money.
Sure.
You know, and we got our first account. So now what did we do? We went around to everybody and said, you want to see my store? Here's our store. So today what's interesting is we were the first staging company to introduce to the sellers right out in North Carolina. And today they now sell to home stagers, they sell to designers. So we started a trend when we didn't know we were starting a trend.
Right.
And then we started bringing the stagers to them so that they could buy wholesale. So it was very interesting.
It is. It is. Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Right, and who knew we were going to do this without us really knowing what we were doing?
Right. You invented your industry
Yeah,
as you were going along.
yeah, which isn't easy because we had nobody to look up to if we
Right.
had problems, if we had, we thought we were all alone, doing all this stuff. We didn't have anybody that we could ask, how do you do this?
No
Because
way to
there was.
benchmark your business. No.
And now today, people come to us, we'll have people who travel near and far, they come to the warehouse, they see what we're doing, and we coach people on how to start a home staging business.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating, yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew? So how? What do you also sell furniture? I've been in your store up
Yeah.
on Main Street. As a matter of fact, wasn't the last time, but I went to an exhibition. You would
Yeah.
local arts.
Yeah, a
artists.
lot. Yeah, an art show that we had there. Yeah.
Well, quite a while ago. My nephew was there. So, how much of your business is sales, and how much is staging?
So that's a good question. But here's the bigger question: why did I get into retail?
Okay.
Okay,
Let
so
me
let's
ask that question.
Let's start that. How did we get into retail, and why did I get into retail? So when we would go to stage a house,
Yep.
all of a sudden the potential buyer asked, "Can I buy the furniture?" Because it's already furnished,
Yeah.
right?
They like it.
So we started selling the furniture. So now we're in the retail business without being in the retail business.
So you would they
Yes.
would hire you to stage, and then they'd say, "Okay, I like it. I want it."
Correct. So we would start selling our furniture. So then our first landlord who we rented, which is in downtown Main Street, he's a better salesperson than I am. He came to me and he said, I see what you're doing here. You've got all this furniture. Why don't you open up a store? And I'm like, where? And he's like, in Plymouth. And I'm like, Plymouth? Are you for real? I said, we're going to put furniture in Plymouth. I said, they're going to come into the store, they're going to turn around, and they're going to walk out. He said, look it. He said, just do it. I'm not going to charge you for the first month's rent. If it doesn't work, you can leave.
Why did you think they would walk out?
Well, we first of all, we're selling higher end types of items, right?
Sure.
Second of all, there's no parking in downtown Plymouth, and there's there was and it's funny today I still get the phone calls, can we park in downtown Plymouth? So there's a stigma of not being able to park in downtown Plymouth because it's so busy,
You're
right?
right in the heart of the historic area.
Well, yeah, and parking is a little tough and all that stuff. So anyhow, and of course we were new to going into retail. I had sold furniture, in my past life, but the problem was, is this going to work? Like, how did we know if it was going to work, right? So anyhow, we took the risk, and not only did we have the one store that's successful, but then we started opening multiple stores.
It says you have one in Boston. Your
Yeah,
website?
we opened pop-up stores. So because we do the staging, I can open up a retail store in a matter of 2 weeks, let's say. So I would get phone calls from people, and we would go into vacant places that normally we wouldn't be able to afford because the rents in Boston are absurd.
Yeah.
Or we were in Derby Street. So we've opened up probably 3 or 4 pop-up stores, which are they open and they'll close at one point.
And what caused you to pop up and then shut down?
Well, because they're in a mall, right? Say like at Derby Street where there's a mall.
Were you in the mall?
We were.
Okay.
And if they have one vacant store, the perception is that maybe things are going out of business.
Okay.
So somebody along the line came up with this thing of let's find people who aren't necessarily going to be able to afford our rents.
Short term.
So so it'll be short term. We'll give them a deal, and we happen to be on that list.